This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and coming at us from the comforts of his own home is our boy Andrew's going to give us this week's topics.
Today's a mock draft special. We're going to break down everything from positions in need, should the Lions trade up or trade down, I should say. And we're even going to pretend to be GMs ourselves and go through a whole Lions mock draft, see how we do. This is the Fan Report.
Right, you heard the man. It's mock draft week. Well, I guess it's almost draft week. We got one more day until it's draft week.
It's going to be an interesting draft to watch.
Yeah. I'm actually so I guess we'll start there. What expectations do you have from Roger Goodell doing the draft live from his basement, like his man cave in his basement? I don't know what to expect.
I feel bad because he's not going to be able to hear the boos.
You know what? Honestly, if Roger Goodell wants to win a lot of fans, wants to win over a lot of people, he needs to pipe in booing sounds. Could you imagine him playing a booing sound drop every time he comes to the mic?
That would be golden.
Exactly. How funny would that shit be? I would, if I saw that, I would die laughing. I hope to God he does it, just because it's not a draft without the traditional booing of Roger Goodell. Let's be real. It's not a draft without it.
I mean, we already know that people watching at home are going to boo their TV sets.
I would hope so.
I just said TV sets. That's a thing anymore.
I don't think a TV set has been a thing. What exactly? Honest question. What exactly is a TV set?
That's when you have, at least to me, your TV, your antenna, your VHS player, your
you still remote. Technically have the TV, the remote, the cable box. We still have a TV set technically. It's just everything's the cable box is quite a bit more compact now. They got them the size of, I don't know, the size of hockey pucks. I don't know.
There you go.
And the remotes are obviously massive. Depends on the type of TV and remote you got, but and then you have your sound systems and all that. Some people have surround sound. Some people have the speaker bars. Some people just use the TV speakers. They have their entertainment centers, or if their TV's mounted. You still have a setup for your TV. So I guess TV set's still technically accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not?
I mean, you bring up a good point.
It's not it's not a tube TV anymore. Obviously, everything's LED or OLED or the fancy shit that they got nowadays, or 4K. I think there's even 5K coming out apparently.
People will be booing their 4K 3D curved OLED televisions.
Yeah, you're probably accurate.
That are mounted on the wall. There we go.
With surround sound. So
surround sound.
With a microphone so that they can hear themselves booing.
No, but honestly, I feel like this is going to be a really awkward draft.
I do too.
I don't know.
I obviously, knowing that teams were worried about getting hacked going into it and all this stuff, and if you had to pick one team that would hack another team's, I guess, boardroom, I guess we'll call it that.
Let me think about this one.
Yeah, wonder who that would be. But no, it
rhymes with expatriate.
But obviously they're going to have extreme precautions in place. It's just going to be real weird seeing video feeds of GMs in their houses or in their offices or wherever they're doing it, and then going back to Roger Goodell in a man cave. I wonder, honestly, I want to see what the prop bets are on this. Is one of them, is everyone wearing pants?
I can pull this up, right?
I'm sure you could. Is another one, how many ties are being worn? Are they still wearing ties? Is another one, how many pictures does Roger Goodell have on the wall? And who is the picture that is directly behind him? Stuff like that. Something tells me it's himself.
I just pulled up one from SI, and those are all serious prop bets.
Oh, that's no fun. If you're going to have an online draft, a virtual draft like this, the prop bets have to be fun. Let's be real. The prop bets have to be fun.
All right, let's see what FanDuel has. All right, FanDuel has
Nothing? That's lame.
nothing fun.
Oh, that's lame. But anyways, no, it'll be an interesting look. Obviously it won't be as good as the real draft. I really hope they don't take. There's no reason the draft should be split up over 3 days. 1 and 2. There's no reason the draft should take like the 3-4 hours that it does each day.
Per day.
Each day.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. So I really hope this kind of speeds things up a little bit. I doubt it will.
I mean, I don't see how it will. So, like,
Right. I doubt it will.
you still have the same clock. You still got the commissioner still got to come out, announce the picks.
Right.
They're probably going to interview players over like Zoom or Skype or whatever.
Right. I'm curious what happens in the case of, like, say a GM's internet drops.
Ooh,
Like, what do we do there? What's the protocol?
that's a great question.
Do we just like pause the draft?
Just phone it in to get.
I guess maybe they call it in. I don't know. They've got to have backup plans to backup plans to backup plans for this to work.
Dude, what if it's set up like the NFL actually took a fantasy football draft server, but just like recode it so it'd have like the incoming players, and you had like a fantasy football draft. They had like little, like on their laptops.
That'd be wild. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what this is going to look like. Obviously, this isn't something we're going to stick with. This isn't something we're going to see every single year. So this is kind of like a special moment, I guess, of the draft being so unique this year. It does kind of suck for the kids coming into the league, but at least their draft will always be remembered.
Yeah, I guess. Let's take a look at the Lions now. I wanted to ask you, first and foremost. Actually, you know what? Let's say that for a second. Let's actually talk about positions in need first. Now, I know there's a lot of people that want Tua. There's a lot of people that want Okuda. Do you think either QB or corner are even a primary position in need for the Lions right now?
I'll say both are probably considered a primary position in need. I think they have a lot of positions in need. I would say that their biggest positions in need are. I mean, you could make the argument that QB isn't the biggest position in need because you do still have Matthew Stafford. He is only 32 years old, which isn't getting any younger, and he has been hurt the last couple of years. But quarterbacks now play into their late 30s and sometimes even the early 40s in some cases. So there is that, but does he want to play that long is the big question. So, to some people, QB is in a position of need. So if we take the QB aspect out, I would argue that your highest positions in need are defensive line, edge rush, and cornerback, and then followed by running back, inside linebacker, depending on the situation between Jared Davis and Jelani Tavai, offensive line. But your biggest needs outside of
we did cut Rick Wagner on the offensive line, but we did bring in.
They lost Graham Glasgow, they lost Rick Wagner.
Oh, they lost Glasgow as well. Yes,
right. So they have they have made some moves along that O line and lost some names and are plugging pieces in. Obviously, they did bring in Vitae, but they are still going to need to plug in some more holes there. But D-line is a big position in need. Edge rush is a big position in need. I do think corner is a big position in need. But personally, I'm just not a believer in taking a corner in the top 3 picks of the draft. I don't think a cornerback is a make or break player. Let's just say the Lions are not a cornerback away from winning a title. That's just like the wide receiver argument.
Agreed.
They're not a wide receiver away from being a 10-win football team or a cornerback away from being a 10-win football team. They're probably a top tier edge rusher away from being a 7 to 8 win football team or better. Or, then
with that being said, then I'm assuming you disagree because most of the majority opinion that I've heard for the Lions in this draft is that if we're staying at 3, we should take Jeff Okuda. So I'm assuming you disagree with that.
I do disagree with that. If we're going to take Jeff Okuda and we grabbed him at 3, I would honestly be a little bit disappointed in that pick. 1, because I feel like we would have left one of two of the best players in this draft on the board. 2, I think we took a guy in a premier position, not necessarily a position that wins football games, puts most of the weight on their shoulders, basically. The premier positions in my mind are the edge rushers, the quarterbacks, guys like that, the outside line, the guys in those positions are where you win where you win the most football games. Versus a corner is more of a luxury position. So you took more of a luxury pick at that third. I know we need a corner, but you took more of a luxury position in the top 3, and I don't think that that's what they need to do in order to turn this football team around. If they were to draft Jeffrey Okudah, I'd want them to trade back to 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, which at that point, are you still getting Jeff Okudah? That I don't know. It depends on what the teams take in front of you. But if you're falling back to 6 or 7, I think you still get Okudah there. You get extra draft picks, and everybody's happy at that point. Do I hate the Jeffrey Okudah pick? No, I just don't think it's a good pick at 3. I'd like to see him make it at 5 or later.
So, okay. So then the other position that comes to mind in terms of position of need that we could possibly address at number 3, and it would be a miracle, but that edge rusher position. So my question to you is there the slightest hope that the Washington Redskins muck this up so badly that Chase Young actually is available for the Lions to take at 3?
If you would have asked me this like a month ago, I would probably argue, I think the hope is there. I don't think it's good hope, but I think the hope is there because you had heard rumors that the Redskins were looking to possibly trade out of number 2. You had heard the rumors that maybe they aren't necessarily in love with Dwayne Haskins, that maybe they're looking at Tua, or maybe they're looking at Justin Herbert. But as we've gotten closer and closer to the draft, it's sure sounding like they're pretty much sold on taking Chase Young, and he's pretty much already got a Redskins hat on as is. So my hope is kind of dwindled quite a bit. I don't think there's much of a chance. I would love it, obviously, if Chase Young were to fall to number 3 with the Lions there. If I were Bob Quinn, I would straight up leave my house and sprint straight to Roger Goodell's house and make it quicker than a John Ross 40. But I really don't think that's going to happen. I would love it, but I really don't think it's going to happen. But what are your thoughts on that? And obviously, what are your thoughts on Jeff Okudah at number 3 and the possibilities of that? And what do you think about them taking him there as long with Chase Young dropping there too?
I agree with you that it's not that I have anything against Jeff Okudah, the player. I think he's a fantastic corner. It's more so the principle of taking a corner at number 3. It was kind of like the principle of taking a guy like TJ Hawkinson, a tight end, at number 8 last year. It's too early for that type of position because that type of position does not have as much effect on a football field as you would need for a pick that high to pay off. Now, like you said, if we were to trade back, a guy like Jeff Okudah would be in consideration for me. I'd also look at a guy like Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker out of Clemson. I think he's also a guy that fits a position in need. He can also play safety, which is also a position in need. So if we're staying at number 3, and I know this isn't going to happen, but I would want to see us take Tua, if nothing more than an insurance policy at the very least, because Stafford's injury that he had is not an injury to scoff at. Yes, he's supposedly 100% healthy now, but this is an injury that could recur. It's what ended Tony's career. It's not something that you want to play around with. So at the very least, I would like, and even if he did end up staying healthy, you have really, really, really good trade bait in either Stafford or Tua. If you have either of them on your roster, you can have Tua just be mentored for a couple years under Stafford, then part ways with him.
You have him pull a Pat Mahomes to Alex Smith or an Aaron Rodgers to Brett Favre.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a perfect setup for a young quarterback coming in to allow his body to get adjusted to the speed and the style of an NFL game. It allows him to learn the ways of an NFL offense and how to run it in the system. And he comes when he does eventually get the call to step in underneath center in a live game, then he'll be ready.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the Lions are really giving it that serious of consideration to take Tua at number 3.
Which, and I agree with you. I really don't think they are giving it a serious enough consideration because we are talking about the future of the franchise here. If we're in a situation like what it sure seems like the Lions are doing, we're in a rebuild. Why are we holding on to a 32-year-old quarterback who's been injured the last few years? And just to clarify, because you did cut out a little bit, this injury is the injury or a similar injury that ended Tony Romo's career. That's where you cut out, is when you were talking about that. But so this isn't an injury that just disappears. It's a spine. It's a back. It's not something that you just ignore. It's not, this is the real deal. It's a serious thing. And it could cause him to want to stop playing football younger than we would hope. So we do have to start kind of looking at that possibility of his replacement. Do I like Matthew Stafford? Do I think he is the guy to lead this football team to a playoff berth? Absolutely. He's a fantastic quarterback. I think he's one of the top 10 to 15. I think he's one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league, in all honesty.
I'll agree with that.
But with that being said, there is the future we do have to look at. And outside of Chase Young, I don't see another player I would rather take at number 3 than a guy like Tua Tagovailoa. Outside of, the off chance that, not even the off chance, but the impossibility that Joe Burrow's there. But Tua is my guy, and Chase Young is also my guy. And we're going to have one of them in all likelihood sitting in our lap. But I don't think the Lions are ballsy enough to take one of those two in terms of Tua Tagovailoa. I would hope to God they're smart enough to take, at least smart enough to take a guy like Chase Young if he falls in your lap. But
can you imagine if Chase Young's there? We take Okuda.
Oh my God, I would. Oh God, oh boy.
I'm sorry, Detroit Lions fans. I'd be done for at least for the year.
I would hope Martha Ford would barge into Bob Quinn's house and fire him on the spot. Could you imagine that? An owner, like we're doing this virtual draft, and an owner walks into a GM's house and fires them on the spot,
live on national television.
Oh my God! Like, just picture a Zoom meeting where like the Zoom meeting videos where someone's like playing golf in the back in one of their videos, or they're going to the bathroom. Do you imagine an owner just barges in and starts throwing shit and just screams at them, and then they bring in the microphone to him, and you can hear the owner yelling at him, and he fires them. Oh, that'd be gold.
That'd be incredible. Oh, God.
But no, I would. Chase Young is my number 1. I'd probably put Tua as my number 2.
Agreed.
And you mentioned a guy like Isaiah Simmons, and I'll just jump right into him. Isaiah Simmons is a fantastic player, maybe one of the most talented players in this draft, but he's a guy who really doesn't have a position. And there's many scouts that have come out and said that we just don't know where he fits in an NFL defense. He is kind of like a mixture of a safety along with a guy who can step out wide and cover some of the bigger, some of the slot receivers, some of the tight ends. He's also a guy who can stop the run. He's not a great pass rusher, but he can rush the passer a little bit. He's a utility tool. He's a guy who can pretty much do anything you ask him to. But one of the things is, and this is going to be the thing that makes or breaks his career, and I'm kind of stealing something from the Valenti show here, but is he able to step out and cover some of the better tight ends in the league? And it's 100% true. If he can't step out and cover guys like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Zach Ertz, I don't know how much of a career this guy is going to have, because that you look at guys in his similar prototype player, you look at guys like a Troy Polamalu, who was a perfect utility type weapon for the Steelers way back, probably 15, 20 years ago. That was a guy that, not quite that, I think about 15 years ago, but that was a guy that could do it all on the football field. And he was a guy who could cover some of the quicker, better route running tight ends and receivers back in the day. That's what you're going to have to ask of Isaiah Simmons, is can he cover those guys along with stop the run and recognize a play and move all over the defense? The Tyrann Matthews of the world, that albeit in a different type, but he's able to do so much more than just what you would at his prototypical position. And if Isaiah Simmons is able to do those things, he's a fantastic weapon to have, and he's going to come out, and if that's the case, he would end up being one of the best players in this draft. It's just a question of, 1, can he do that? And 2, is he going to get the right coaching somewhere? Put him on the Steelers, 100%. I think he could be something incredible in this league. Put him on the Patriots. I think they'd find his niche and put him in the spot to be successful. Putting him in the Lions, though, as a Lions fan, I want to think that, yes, we could turn that player into a utility knife, a weapon on the defense. I don't know that we have the coaching to do it, though. I've seen players not work here and go on to be premier players at another position. Guys like a Kyle Van Noy, guys or on another team, guys like Kyle Van Noy, guys like even like Quandre Diggs. Quandre Diggs has played the best football of his career for the Seattle Seahawks, not for the Detroit Lions.
But you know what he could be very useful for? Being a spy on the defensive end of the football in terms of being your quarterback spy, because you're in a league now where you have guys like Lamar Jackson, Sean Watson, Pat Mahomes. These guys can run, and when you have a linebacker the size of Simmons, who's 6'4", 238, he can run a 4.3 940, and he's good in that kind of like zone coverage in the linebacker position. I think he could really be useful in terms of covering those speedy quarterbacks.
I 100% agree with you, but is that something that is worth taking a top 5 pick on? Is that a is that a type of, that small of a role, something you spend a top 5 pick on?
Yeah,
that's a very specialty type player.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's worth spending a top 5 pick on. Is Isaiah Simmons the player worth spending a top 5 pick on? I think it really is going to come down to whether or not he can find his role in a defense and be coached well enough to be able to cover guys, the premier tight ends in this league, because those guys are what's killing the league right now. Nobody can stop those guys. And if you find someone that can, guess what? Dude's going to be one of the richest players at his position of all time. And that's a very good reason for it. So I would love to see Isaiah Simmons in a Lions uniform. I just don't know that we're capable of handling a guy like that and finding his role to be successful.
Question for you. I'm going to pose a scenario. Let's say the Lions were to trade back to 5, which I've seen quite a few projections here that they do with the Dolphins. Then you really are looking at guys like Okudah and Simmons. If you're picking between those two, who would you rather see the Lions take?
In all honesty, I think Isaiah Simmons is the better football player of the two, but I think Jeffrey Okudah will be better for this football team. I think Isaiah Simmons in Seattle, Pittsburgh, New England, somewhere around those, some of the premier teams with premier coaching, I'd say he'd be an absolute weapon. I think he'd be one of the best players at his position in the league, but I don't know that the Lions would be able to find out that role for him and be able to coach him up enough to make him that type of player. So I'm going to say the guy who I think has already got his role, we know his role, and we know he's good at it, in Jeffrey Okudah. So if we trade back, I'm looking at Jeff Okudah over Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah. You know what I would love to happen? I don't know why, but let's say we got like insanely lucky, and Henry Ruggs fell to us in the second round, and because I was looking at Henry Ruggs,
he may be the first receiver off the board.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a second round receiver, and he just kept climbing.
Someone's got to put a bong in the back of his video feed.
Imagine, because this is complete. This is completely fancy scenario, but imagine you have you did end up taking Tua, and then took Henry Ruggs in the second round. You got Ruggs and Galladay out wide, and Tua under.
Well, you got Marvin Jones too.
Yeah, you got Marvin Jones too.
But I mean that'd be real nice. Obviously, you have the chemistry already there. I'd love that. In the second round, if we don't go edge rush, depending on what's there, I think we do need to grab an edge rusher or a running back in the second round. Personally,
I agree.
I just
running
think
back
that
is actually my top target in the second round.
I'll agree with you, because there's running backs at the back end of that first round that I think at least one of them will fall into that top half of the second that I would love to have. Kerryon Johnson's a great player, but he needs someone to give him, he needs a yin and the yang, so to speak.
Oh yeah. That brings me to my next question then. Would you want to see the Lions? Because there's been a lot of discussion, and Bob Quinn has come out and confirmed that he's been taking calls, teams interested in trading up to the Lions. Would you want to see the Lions trade back in the first round?
If Chase Young is not there for us at 3 and they're really hell-bent on not taking Tua Tagovailoa, then yes, I would.
I agree 100%.
Obviously, I would prefer to take Tua or Chase Young, but if they're not going to take either one of those guys, or Chase Young is not available and you're not taking Tua, then yeah, I would want them to trade back, because I know exactly who they're targeting. And if that's the guy they're going to get, you can get him at the 5, 6, 7 range. So I would prefer us to do that.
Pick up some good picks in there.
Absolutely.
I agree 100%, because I feel like 3 would be a waste on a position like that. So,
just a quick question for you. Last week, did we talk about the potential trade with the Saints?
No, that we did not talk about it, but that was just that's not a official rumor.
No,
that's just a writer.
Right. It was a writer that threw a rumor out there, which and it did catch some speed. It did catch, a lot of people did kind of fall into it and talk about it. And for those listening, the trade was the Lions trade 3 to the Saints for pick, what was it, 26?
I can pull it up again.
I think it was pick 26, a 4th round pick, and Alvin Kamara, which honestly, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Because of the quarantine, we haven't really been able to get together and talk sports at all, which sucks. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what you would
be
react
24.
to.
Yeah, it'd be 24.
You cut out. What'd you say?
Sorry, it'd be the Saints' 24th overall pick, and then their third round pick, and as well as
Kamara. So, what are your thoughts on the Lions trading
as well as their first round pick next year?
Oh, that's right. That did include their first round pick next year. But what are your thoughts on the Lions trading back to bring in Alvin Kamara and move back to 24, along with getting another first round pick and a third round pick this year?
It's enticing because of the fact that Alvin Kamara, at 24 years old, I believe he is. He's young enough where I do believe we can get some really good utility out of him, and I believe he is one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL right now.
100% agree.
And getting an additional first round pick next year is really enticing. But you are moving back considerably in the first round. So then it comes down to, well, do we think that there's players available in that spot that we could see the Lions taking? And you look at guys like Jalen Johnson, the cornerback out of Utah. You look at guys like Gross Matos out of Penn State. Would we be happy with the Lions taking one of those guys in that kind of same position, in those kinds of positions of need? If it nets you Kamara, I'm tempted to go with it, and then hope, and then you could even consider like Julian Okwara and get Romeo Okwara's brother in there. I'm tempted to go with it there.
I'm not gonna lie, the names you mentioned at corner there, because we do have Marcus Trufant. The names, and we also have the nickel corner that we got in free agency last year. Why his name is slipping my mind. The guy we picked up in free agency last year.
Justin Coleman?
Justin Coleman, thank you.
Yeah.
We do still have him. So grabbing the names you mentioned, like the corner from Utah, at that spot in the draft is something that I do think could. You also have the corner Jeff Gladney from TCU as well. Those are guys that I would, it fills a position of need. Along with running back fills a position of need. You don't have to spend a second round pick at running back. You can look at maybe a linebacker or an edge rusher or an inside offensive lineman. Guys like Cesar Ruiz could be available from Michigan.
And then the next year's first, that's a sweetener there.
Exactly. So there are this could fill potentially 3 positions of need in 2 picks, and you get more. Plus, you get a third round pick and next year's first of the Saints. This could fill so much of your needs. Albeit you're not getting as high end of a guy in the corner slot, in the corner pick as Jeffrey Okudah, but you're still getting a high end cornerback in the draft in the first round, along with getting one of the top 5 running guys at a position in Alvin Kamara. Plus, you still have your second round pick coming right around to grab another position of need. I am, along with you, I'm very tempted to do this. I don't really see too many downsides other than the fact that you're not getting as high end of a prospect in a guy like Jeffrey Okudah or Chase Young or Isaiah Simmons, something like that.
Not to mention the bonus there is, I actually would love to on Saints. I think he's a great fit for that system. But
say, who would you love there?
I'd love to see 2 on the Saints as a little bonus because I think he's a great fit in their system.
Oh, I
Just
do
looking
too.
at Teddy Bridgewater perform. I think
do
2 would be a great
2
fit.
would be awesome to watch there, 100%. But no, I'd definitely be tempted to see that. To see the Lions do that. It would be interesting because Alvin Kamara could technically increase the length of Matthew Stafford's career. He could make Matthew Stafford a better quarterback. I mean, you could look at a situation where Matthew Stafford is able to dump the ball off to a more reliable running back, a guy who's going to stay healthy, and you could throw both him and Kerryon out and really send the defenses through fits. It would be such an interesting look to the Lions offense that I would love. And the Lions offense is already good with Stafford in there, but I think that would turn the Lions offense to great with Stafford, Kamara, and Kerryon in there. 100%.
All right. Are there any other positions in need that we haven't discussed? We talked about corners. We talked about linebackers. We briefly touched on offensive line, talked about secondary.
Well, let me
running
ask you
back,
this.
quarterback. I
Let me
think we
ask you
got
this.
everything.
There is one other name that has been connected to the Lions at that number 3 spot, or if they trade back to 5 or later, and that's Derek Brown, the defensive tackle from Auburn. What do you think about the Lions taking him at early in this draft here?
Ooh, it's an interesting pick. I guess I'll say this. I prefer Okuda and Simmons, but if neither of them were on the board, I wouldn't be mad. Like, it's Derek Brown's not a pick that make me mad. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, why would you ever pick that at number 5 or number 7, wherever you're trading back to? It's not my first choice. It's not sexy, obviously,
Right.
but I mean, it's a position in need. I wouldn't be ecstatic, but I wouldn't be mad, I guess.
It is kind of a boring pick. I'm not going to lie. He did have an absolutely terrible combine, so I don't love that aspect of things.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah, he did not have a good combine. He's
less excited about that.
He is a good player. He played well at Auburn, but didn't perform well at the combine. He does have a lot of strength. He's got quickness for his size, and he hustles a lot. He can make things uncomfortable and be able to stop the run. But in a top 5 pick, I'll say no thanks. I would not be happy with that pick. If we picked him at 3, 4, 5, whatever, I would not be happy with that. If we picked him any later than that, maybe in the 7 or 8 range, I'd be pretty happy taking Derek Brown at that spot. And hopefully he can get his act together coming to play in the NFL. But anyways, though, one other question I had before we move on to the mock draft, and that is outside of Chase Young, obviously being the premier edge rusher in this draft, being the guy that you and I both would love to see the Lions grab at number 3 if he's there. Are there any other edge rushers that you would like to see the Lions grab if they were to trade back to get them?
Specifically edge rushers.
Yes, specifically
not in the range you're not in the range you're trading back to. You could, I mean, you got the guy from LSU going the mid rounds, Clavon Chasen.
Yep.
Out of LSU going the mid rounds. After that, I mean, Terrell Lewis out of Bama is another guy, but he's going the late first round. So in the spot that you're trading back to, no.
No, not obviously. This is a situation where you're trading outside the top 10.
Yeah,
maybe even the top 15.
I would rather take that Saints trade and be in the back of the round to like Julian Mara or Gross Meadows out of Penn State. Those 2 edge rushes rather than, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll tell you this. I am not sold on the edge rushers in this draft in general.
I'm really not either. I think it's got
Chase Young.
I think it's got depth. I just don't think it has the high end talent.
Yeah,
that we've seen in a couple of years past. I think some of these edge rushers are solid, but they're not great. They're not game changers that we've seen. Outside of Chase Young. Chase Young is separate from everybody else. But
so yeah, I don't know. Like, would you like to see it? Because I don't think I would. If I'm going if I'm back into past 10, I don't know if I'm taking a first round edge rusher anymore. I think there's other positions that are better that you can grab.
I mean, to be completely honest with you, and I look at our other high end positions of need. I think Clavon Chasen is a good player, but if I'm trading to like 14, 15, 16, 17, 14 to 20, I'm looking at a guy like AJ Henderson as opposed to, sorry, not AJ Henderson, CJ Henderson. Yeah, CJ Henderson, if he falls into that range, or even a guy like AJ Terrell out of Clemson, the corner. There's a couple of corners I would like to see the Lions take before guys like Gross Matos from Penn State or Clavon Chasen from LSU. Clavon Chasen, I think, is a really high-end player as well. But there's other guys that would like to see the Lions go after in other positions of need at that spot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, in the first round, unless you're talking like late first, early second, I'm not looking at edge rushers anymore because I think there's players available.
Right. And even Jalen Johnson's another corner I would look at probably before some of these edge rushers too. Yeah. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and move on into our mock draft here. We spent quite a bit of time on the pre-draft talk. So, what we're doing here is we're going through basically doing a mock draft if the Lions were picking at number 3 as if Andrew and I were the Lions GM. What picks would we make? Now, Andrew, can you see my screen? Because I'm going to share it over to you.
Yes.
I can see it. Okay. All right. So do you want to do all 7 rounds or do you want to kind of shorten it a little bit?
You know what? We'll set it to 7. We'll see how we're doing on time, and if we can make it all 7, we'll try to fit it in. But if not, we'll stop it at like 4 or 5, depending how long we take to deliberate.
Okay, sounds good. So let's go ahead and give it just kind of give you some background on the drafts. We're obviously doing the fast speed picks to make things move along. We're picking drafting things ourselves. Yeah. We're doing a conservative type draft, which I think is probably pretty standard. And we're going strict trading, so there's just to kind of keep it more of a true look.
And just so you know, we could do chaotic draft with free for all. That would be
wild.
But
but let's go and hit the start button here as we kind of move in here with the top 2 picks. Obviously going to be Joe Burrows and Chase Young. So at 3, we've got Jeffrey Okudah, Tua, and Isaiah Simmons. Really the only guys we're looking at.
This is our draft, not Quinn's draft. I'm saying
Tua as well. I'll agree with you 100%. That's the guy I'm taking. I'm playing for the future of the Lions. So Isaiah Simmons did go right after.
Okudah won at 7.
Okay, Derek Brown won at 9. So Henry Ruggs to 15. So there goes your chances of 8 your dreams. Moving on down, Jordan Love 23 to the Pats. There's your replacement to Brady. Moving on down, DeAndre Swift 32. Now we're at the Lions pick here. We've got Grant Delpit and Jalen Johnson, Cesar Ruiz. You could also go running back. I believe Jonathan Taylor's available. J.K. Dobbins is still available. So what do you like here? And I'll be honest with you, there's one guy that jumps off the page for me. I'm going to hear your thoughts. I'm assuming
the guy that jumps off the page for you is Jalen Johnson.
Yes, that because considering he's a guy I was kind of looking at back end of the first round, I think he's a guy that I'd look at here early in the second round as well.
And obviously, I think Dobbins is also in consideration with this pick. But I think Dobbins is the sexy pick. I think the responsible pick is Jalen Johnson.
I'll agree with you. J.K. Dobbins is the sexy pick, and I do like him a lot. I do think he's got a stupid high ceiling, maybe even the highest ceiling of any running back in this draft. But I do think, considering cornerback is a position of need, I think this pick here with Jalen Johnson will make fans happy. Along with it'll be a pick that bolsters the defense quite a bit too. You couldn't get to the corner in the first round, but you got one not quite as good, but still good in the second round. What do you think, Jalen Johnson or J.K. Dobbins?
I think Jalen Johnson. Be responsible here.
All right, Jalen Johnson is the pick here for us in the second round.
Kind of wish he got taken already so we could just be fun and go J.K. Dobbins.
I kind of do too, I'm not going to lie. J.K. Dobbins goes to the Bills.
At what, 54 was it?
Yep.
Moving kind of fast. Julian Okwara at 61.
Wow, that's a steal if you ask me. Now, third round. We've got Jalen Hurts, although we already got a quarterback. We've got Raekwon.
Take them both.
Okay. We got Raekwon Davis, the defensive lineman from Alabama. Justin Matabuki, I think is his name, from Texas A&M. Jordan Elliott, defensive lineman from Missouri. We've got Clyde Edwards. I can't remember his full name. The running back from LSU. Let me get his full name here because now I feel like a dud.
Let's be honest. It's Justin Burrow's show at LSU.
Joe Burrow? You mean?
Joe Burrow.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There we go. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Moving on down, you've got Jonathan Grenard, the edge rusher from Florida. And that's Malik Harrison's an interesting one, but that's really the only guys I would even look at this spot. Willie Gay, Charles Burgess, that's probably it. So what would you like here? Do you want to go D-line, fill another position of need? Do you want to go running back? What do you want to do?
I do think, by the way, I lost your screen. But I do think D-line in Raekwon Davis, I think, might be the pick here for me.
All right, let me know if you can see the screen again. I personally like Raekwon Davis as the pick. I think he's got great value at 67 here in the third round. I think it's a very solid pick and it fills position of need. So I lean Raekwon Davis, personally. You back? Sorry about all the noises. We were having some connection issues, but can you see the screen again?
Here we go.
Okay. All right. I'm leaning Raekwon Davis with my pick here.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll be honest with you. I don't know much about Justin Matabuki, so
I really don't either.
That's kind of why I'm leaning Raekwon Davis. Let me pull up his combine real quick.
Well, Jordan Elliott was taking over him. He's still available here. There he goes. Just got taken. So there's obviously a little bit of difference. But now back into our second pick in the third round here. Guys that would be available: KJ Hill, the wide receiver from Ohio State; Jordan Brooks, Texas Tech linebacker; Brian Edwards, wide receiver from South Carolina; Van Jefferson, wide receiver from Florida; Harrison Bryant, the tight end from Florida Atlantic. Which please don't spend a pick on a tight end.
Yes, do it.
Bradley Anai, the edge rusher from Utah, is an interesting one. I actually like that pick a lot. That's a name I've heard quite a bit. I'm not going to lie to you. Jabari
I don't disagree
Zuniga.
with you there because I don't think I mean, sorry, I think I agree with you there because I do feel like, because one of the names that popped out to me was Willie Gay from Mississippi State, but that's another guy that I'm not quite sold on. He's probably going to be a project.
Probably. I'll agree with you. I do think he's a project. I don't know. And considering the situation we have with Jelani Tavai and Jared Davis there, is it worth spending another third-round pick on another linebacker like that? So I would probably lean Bradley and I here. Get your edge rusher, shore up that pass rush, and move
I'll
on.
agree with that.
All right, so we're going to go Bradley and Nye in our late third-round pick here. Moving on now to our fourth round. Getting there.
So what do we have so far on our board? We got Tua.
Jalen Johnson, Bradley and Nye, and we ended up taking
the
Raekwon Davis as well.
Raekwon Davis, yeah.
So honestly, if you ask me, we've filled three positions in need.
So we've got defense a lot.
Yes, we filled three positions in need in corner, defensive line, and edge rusher, and we got our quarterback of the future into Tagovailoa. I'm honestly very happy with the way the draft has gone so far. All right, so pick number round 4 here, pick number 109. What's available? We've got bypassing the 2 tight ends. We've got Jordan Brooks, the linebacker from Texas Tech, is still there. KJ Hamler, the wide receiver from Penn State, still available. Zach Moss, the running back from Utah, is available. Donovan Peoples-Jones, a local name, went to proud product of Cass Tech, and the University of Michigan's available. Prince Tega, what's his name? I don't know, but an offensive tackle from Auburn. I don't know him very well, so apologize. But what do you like in here at this spot? Do you want to go running back with Zach Moss? Do you want to go KJ Hamler? Let's scroll down. There's Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt as well.
I do like KJ Hamler, and people here are probably going to crucify me. I do like KJ Hamler a little more than Donovan Peoples-Jones. I
do too. I'll agree with you.
I do think that the kind of speedster slot receiver style is kind of what fits our offense a little more too. So I do think he's a better fit for us than Donovan Peoples-Jones. But that Utah running back is screaming at me.
Honestly,
right now.
I'm not going to lie to you. That Utah running back is screaming at me. I do like the idea of grabbing a running back in this spot. KJ Hamler is an interesting pick. So is Keyshawn Vaughn. That's another running back that I actually really like quite a bit.
Interesting.
Between the two of them, I don't know if I lean Zach Moss or Keyshawn Vaughn. Which one I like up better?
I'm not very familiar with Keyshawn Vaughn, so let me look up his.
Okay, go ahead.
At least his measurables here.
Go ahead. But
all right. So Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt, 5'10", 218. So a little bit on the smaller end.
He is a little bit on the smaller end.
So is Zach Moss. So
yeah.
Runs a 4.5 40.
It's Prince Tega Wanaho, by the way. That's the name I couldn't figure out.
There you go. Interesting. Very interesting. He's a stocky dude.
He's a very stocky running back.
He looks like a Mark Ingram type, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Which would be kind of very different style of back from what we already have in Kerryon Johnson.
I think that's in terms of running back, I think it's a better fit for us than Zach Moss.
So you want to go Keyshawn Vaughn?
Either Keyshawn Vaughn or God, the wide receiver's name is slipping my mind right now. KJ Hamler. Thank you.
I probably am going to lean Keyshawn Vaughn. I think running back's a little bit more of a need, personally.
So you're not going to go with the hometown kid?
Not going to go with the hometown kid, unfortunately.
Because KJ Hamler is from Pontiac, right?
I do. Yeah. So Keyshawn Vaughn?
All right, Keyshawn Vaughn is.
Or do you want to go KJ Hamler?
No, I think Keyshawn Vaughn because of Kerryon's injury history, we do need another back behind him. So
all right, so Keyshawn Vaughn it is. Okay, moving on down to the 5th round. Do we have another 4th round pick? I can't remember. Doesn't look like we do.
So far, we're really hammering positions in need.
Yes.
I do think we got a steal in the 2nd round. Who got taken?
Joe Bacci.
Yeah,
linebacker from State.
Yep.
Now, all right, moving on to our 5th round here. Players available: John Hightower, wide receiver from Boise State; Alex Taylor, offensive tackle from South Carolina State; Charlie Heck, offensive tackle from North Carolina; Alohi Gilman, safety from Notre Dame; Tyler Johnson, the wide receiver from Minnesota, is an interesting one; Khalil Davis, defensive line from Nebraska; Kaliki Hudson, the safety from Michigan. Those are really the names I'm seeing here that I kind of like. So what are you looking at here? This is where we get to be a little bit more creative with our draft board.
Well, I'm still looking to grab some depth at wide receiver.
Okay, we've still got Devin Duvernay from Texas. Well, I wasn't scrolled up enough.
There's a lot of wide receivers available.
Yes, wide receiver seems to be the route we could look at here. Courtney Davis from Texas A&M. There's a lot of options. So which of these wide receivers do you like the best?
Also, another position we could look at is offensive tackle.
It is, having just gotten rid of Rick Wagner, albeit we did bring in Vitae.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like here in terms of a pick? Lots of wide receivers available, a couple offensive tackles. What do you like?
In terms of offensive tackles, I actually do really like Charlie Heck.
I do too.
He's a really good run blocker. And he's a guy I think that is actually ready to play right off the bat. But in terms of wide receivers, there's actually a lot to choose from. Only name I'm even familiar with, to be honest with you guys, is John Hightower. I know he's like a tall, speedy guy out of Boise. I don't know. I kind of want to look up Courtney Davis.
Courtney Davis is a name I'm also familiar with. So is Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Those 3 names I am familiar with. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Texas wide receivers. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's why I kind of been ignoring.
Although Devin Duvernay is a guy who could be an interesting one, just because he is probably the better of the two, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. I can get you his measurables. He's 5'11", 210, so he's not huge by any measures. He did grab 106 passes. He did have 106 catches for 1,380 yards last year with 9 touchdowns. Yeah. So he did have some good. He did put up some great numbers last year. Let me see what he did at the combine.
I think I'm leaning Charlie Heck here. I'll be honest with you.
He ran a 4.3940, so he is quick. So that does kind of help him out a little bit. But I'm probably going to agree with you. I want some depth along that O-line. We did grab a running back that's going to need some good run blocking. So I'm going to go with Charlie Heck here. I agree with you.
Look, he's a big dude, 6'8", 311.
Oh, he's huge. He's massive. So Charlie Heck is our pick in the 5th round. Let's go ahead and move on down.
North Carolina.
So going through our draft here, how are you liking things? We got Tua, Jalen Johnson, Raekwon Davis, Bradley Anae, Keyshawn Vaughn, and Charlie Heck. How are you? How confident are you in our draft so far?
I'm really liking it. Again, I think it's really bolstered by the fact that I feel like we did get a steal in the 2nd round, and we really hit positions of need early. So
we
and the fact that
position of need,
and the fact that we were able to grab Tua.
100%. All right, so going back in here, we have a chance to grab a wide receiver in Quez Watkins from Southern Miss. Don't really know too much about him. The Kayvon Wallace, the safety, is still available. You've got McTelvin.
Any relation to Sammy Watkins?
I have no idea. Darrington Evans, running back from App State, even though we did grab a running back already. Shore up that D-line with Khalil Davis. Wide receiver Tyree Cleveland from Florida is available. What do you like in here? Again, we can get a little creative with this pick. There's a kicker available in Rodrigo Blankenship from Georgia.
Quez Watkins is another really speedy guy. Looks like I was just looking him up. So he's 6 feet, 185, ran a 4.3, 540.
Quick.
Yeah. And so he could actually serve as, punt return, kick return duties too, right in day one.
That is a possibility.
What else do we have on here?
Kayvon Wallace, safety.
I fil like we should look at safety, to be honest with you.
I hate the idea. We did trade Quandre Diggs. So Kayvon Wallace is available. That's the only J.R. Reed from Georgia is available. If you wanted to shore up the D-line, that kid Khalil Davis from Nebraska is available. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I don't really see too many safeties. Brandon Jones from Texas, but he's way down the board. I don't know. I do kind of like the Quez Watkins pick. I think he's good value here.
If you like the idea of a safety blitz specialist. That's Kayvon Wallace.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want a speedy slot receiver,
Yeah, I'll go with
Quez.
Quez Watkins. Do need to shore up those wideouts. I would have liked to take a wideout earlier in the draft, but this spot, I'm not going to hate it.
Ooh, what about J.R. Reed? Oh, we already picked.
Very
Okay.
pick, sorry. Moving on to the 6th round here, getting towards the end of the draft. Let's see.
Ooh, J.R. Reed would have actually been really nice, to be honest with you.
Would it? So
Another safety out of Georgia, but I don't think he's going to be available again.
he's not.
Is he?
No, he's not. He's been taken. He was actually taken 169,
Right
so 2 picks after us. So what do we see? Do we like Lavert Hill, another corner hometown boy from the University of Michigan? His older brother was a guy who was quite good at Michigan as well, in Delano Hill.
I mean, can he play safety?
I have no idea. Brandon Jones, a safety from Texas, is available.
No, 5'11". He's 5'10", 5'11". He's too short to play safety. Anyways.
Yeah, you've got Shaheem Carter from Alabama. He's a safety. Miles Bryant from Washington, a corner. Richie Grant from UCF is a safety. Neville Clark from UCF is a corner. There's another edge rusher from Tulsa and Travis Gibson. Joe Runyon, the offensive tackle from Michigan's there. There's a lot of things to look at here. I feel like we are leaning more to that safety. Bravion Roy from Baylor, defensive lineman. But I feel like we are kind of leaning defensive back here. Look up Brandon Jones for me.
Brandon Jones, out of where?
Texas.
All right, so Shaheem Carter, real quick. So Shaheem Carter, safety out of Alabama, 5'10", 194.
Smaller side.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he worked out the combine.
No.
Nope. Which take that as you will.
Yeah. We are talking a 6th round pick here.
Yeah, we can't overanalyze. We can start getting a paralysis by analysis here. Brandon Jones, 5'11", 198. He is graded better according to NFL.com's projections. He has played all 3 safety positions.
All 3 safety positions?
Yes. And he's an attacker, is what he's described as in the backfield.
Interesting. So he's aggressive. What would the 3rd safety position be? Free safety, strong safety?
Free safety, strong safety, blitzing safety.
Okay. I was wondering if they were going that route. Okay. I like Brandon Jones here. I don't think let's just say a 6th round pick isn't going to make or break your draft. And it's
his biggest weakness is his man coverage abilities, which you don't usually ask too much of with safeties anyways.
Depends on how much you blitz, which apparently the Lions never do. So
yeah.
I'll take Brandon Jones.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon Jones it is. Moving on now to what looks like to be the 7th round pick.
We have a 7th round pick this year, right?
I believe so. I thought we had like 9 picks in this draft, and I think at least one of them was a 7th round pick. We might even have 2.
So we've really assuming Brandon Jones actually pans out. We've really addressed our secondary. But
absolutely.
Again,
all right, 7th round pick.
Long shot for a 6th round pick too. Oh, AJ Green's on the board.
Yes. AJ Green. Yeah, apparently he switched positions.
Juwan Jennings re-entered the draft.
Yes, Juwan Jennings, wide receiver from Tennessee. Trajan Brandy, cornerback from the U.
I love these small school wide receivers. Those are I'm always enamored by because they always seem to fly under the radar. But continue.
Isaiah Coulter from Rhode Island.
Yeah.
You want to go that route?
I don't know. All right, so he's 6'2", 198, 4'4", 40.
A little slower, but bigger.
Yeah. 4'4", is not that slow.
No, I guess not. Want to take him? Just do it.
Against Virginia Tech, which is probably the best school they played, he had 9 catches for 152 yards.
All right, that's a winner. Let's take him. All right, so we took Isaiah Coulter, a couple wide receivers late in this draft. One of them hopefully will get us something. That should end the draft. I believe it will. Yeah. And Mr. Irrelevant was Cordell. Cordell Iwagwu.
Iwagwu out of TCU. He was what's that? Inside-outside linebacker?
Inside offensive lineman. Jesus, Andrew. A guard or a center. So just to recap, guys.
No, I said inside-outside linebacker is what I said.
I know, but it's an inside offensive lineman.
No, but it's inside-outside linebacker.
Okay. Just to recap our draft, guys, we grabbed Tua at number 3, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Johnson in our 3rd pick in the 2nd round. At the cornerback from Utah, Raekwon Davis, our 2nd third-round pick, the defensive lineman from Alabama. We grabbed Bradley Anae with our third-round pick.
I think those first 4 picks were very strong.
Oh,
very
Bradley
strong.
Anae at late 3rd round, the edge rusher from Utah is a very strong pick, if you ask me. I think Jalen Johnson, Raekwon Davis, and Bradley Anae to add to our defense would be very nice to come out of the draft with. Then we grabbed Keyshawn Vaughn in the 4th round, the running back from Vanderbilt.
It's a gamble, but it's a type of running back that would fit in our system. So
absolutely, Charlie Heck, the offensive tackle from North Carolina in the 5th round.
I think another under the radar prospect.
Agreed. Quez Watkins, wide receiver from Southern Miss, in our 2nd 5th round pick.
Probably end up being more of a kick returner.
Possibly. Brandon Jones, the safety from Texas in the 6th round, kind of a flyer pick. And then a little more of a fun pick, Isaiah Coulter, the wide receiver from Rhode Island in the 7th round to end out the draft. Andrew, if you had to give us a grade, what would it be?
Well, considering we picked it, I'm going to give us an A-.
I'll give us an A-. I'll give us an A. Those first 4 picks, I think, are incredibly strong, if you ask me.
Yeah, agreed.
We filled several positions in need early in the drafts, all while getting
focus on defense heavy early,
right, and all while getting a guy in Tua Tagovailoa that many scouts are considering to be the best player in this draft. So I think we nailed it especially in the first 3 rounds here with the first 4 picks. So, but anyways, though, do you have anything else to add before we close things out?
That was fun.
I had fun.
We'll be back next week giving you guys our reaction to what the Lions actually do, which probably would be very, very different from what.
Yeah, most likely different. Nobody ever gets these drafts right. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Check us out on Twitter at Real Fan Report. We hope you guys are staying safe and staying indoors, staying healthy. Andrew, thank you for joining me. I wish you and your family the best over the next week,
too.
And obviously until we do this again. But thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast as well for continuing to host us, and we thank you guys again for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
So we'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one. Peace.
Remember to wash your hands.